and welcome to Theater Talk, this time after the production of Waitress at Proctor's Theater in Schenectady. And before we actually start, this is the first Theater Talk since the passing of former Mayor Karen Johnson, who was instrumental in saving this theater from the wrecking ball a couple of decades ago. And I'd just like to remember her and honor her for the work she did. We are joined by a significant number of the cast members from Waitress, and I would like to just ask you guys to go down the line, introduce yourselves, who you play, where you're from, anything else pithy you might want to add, and then we'll go into questions.
Hey, everybody. Wow.
They do respond.
Yeah, I can tell now. My name is Ryan, and I played Cal in the show. Thank you. I'm from California. I live in New York City now, though, or a storage facility, really. But that's where I live. And that was my pithy comment for the show.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm in the ensemble, and I'm the dance captain. Thank you. Clapping for the ensemble. And I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Oh, there we go.
Hello, my name is Melody Betts, and I played Becky. That is lovely. I love that. Thank you so much. I am from Chicago, and I currently live also in a storage facility in New York. And the last time I was here, I was the Mother Abbess in The Sound of Music, so I'm happy to be back.
Oh, good.
And we brought pies.
Yeah. Why don't you go behind you?
Well, hello. I'm Eric Briggs. I'm the head electrician for the tour. Originally from Fort Worth, Texas. Live out of a storage unit in Fort Worth, Texas.
Hey, I'm Stephen Good. I played Dr. Palmater. I am also from California, and I actually have a place in New York where my wife lives, and I go back periodically to visit. So happy to be in Schenectady because we can just pop back and forth on our days off and say hey. So.
Hi, I'm Rayome Crenshaw. I'm in the ensemble, and I play Nurse Norma. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and I currently live in a storage unit in New York.
You guys could save a ton of money just sharing a storage unit, you know. One goes on the road, the other goes into the storage unit. All right, we are open to questions. Any questions that anyone may have, just raise your hand and... Boy, you guys are quiet. Yes? Okay, no question, just amazed at how smoothly everybody was able to operate the scenery? How do you do that?
All of the set pieces that moved on and off stage and the wall for their house are all automated pieces. We have a separate technician backstage who runs all 11 of those effects. Some of them are winches in the ground that he has a computer control that tells it the speed, how long the move is supposed to be, and all of that. And positioning on stage. And everything's pre-programmed, just like the lighting console. So he hits a button, all the effects move. But unlike a lighting console, there's a lot more room for error with actors walking around and things going wrong, and so people can get injured. So there are several safety protocols in place in case something goes wrong. But specifically, like the wall itself is one of the things that we're always very concerned about because that's a very large piece coming in over someone's head.
Are there no safety protocols for the lights?
There are no safety protocols for the lights. It's just me at the back hitting a button randomly.
Now, do you have to reprogram everything with each new theater?
Funny you say that. Next week will be the first time on this tour we have to do that. Because the venue we're playing in Hartford is slightly smaller than what we're able to fit in easily. Mm-hmm. But generally, as long as our show deck fits into the space, we don't have to do anything with the automation programming.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I will pass that along to the operator.
There was another question over here. Yes.
It seemed like there was a lot of character improvisation in
There seemed to be a fair amount of improvisation with the different characters. You bring different aspects of the character in. Do you do the same thing every night, or do they let you play around a little?
We're supposed to do the same thing every night. I mean,
There's no moment that anyone veers from the script, but I mean, they're all so very good that it just seems improvised.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad it seems improvised.
Questions? Yes.
For Dr. Palmaner, your character, I loved your portrayal of the character, but it was kind of disturbing that he was going out of his ethical boundaries. He's stepping out on his wife, but he's also, in professional ethics, having the affair with him.
Little.
How do you feel like your opinion of that being written into the show like that?
A little concerned about, Doctor, your ethical, your ethics, having a basically being married and canoodling with a patient.
Well, things are different in the South. No, it is one of the unique challenges of the role, because he's a character who you're supposed to fall in love with and really vie for as an audience member. But as an actor, you are doing all these terrible things. I mean, technically, you're violating the Hippocratic Oath and cheating on your spouse. But these are all real things that we've all experienced, are either ourselves or through loved ones or people we know, So I think it's important themes to deal with, and also to have some empathy for it and forgiveness, because you have to move on, and everything changes and people make mistakes, but because we're human. And so I think it's one of the many powerful themes in the show that. Like Jenna she's imperfect, but she's kind.
how many song lyrics are you gonna quote tonight?
Anyone ever have a doctor cheat on them? I'm just. Yes. I'm presuming that's a question. Okay.
He must like it because he did it on Broadway, too.
Must like it because you did it on Broadway, huh? Good for you. All right, questions? Yes.
Could you tell us how did you get into theater?
How did you get into theater? Why don't we just go right on down the line?
Oh, okay. I got into theater because my mom was going to college at the time, and there was like this weird babysitting thing at the college, which happened to be a theater thing. I know it was really weird, but it was easier for her to go to school and drop me off at this theater camp kind of thing. I don't remember being asked if I wanted to do it. But yeah, so I started doing that, but I played sports and stuff. I didn't really get into theater for real until high school. And then by the time college came around, it was I don't know how to do anything else. So that's my pithy comment.
I think it's just something I always wanted to do. I don't quite remember ever making the choice. And I always say, and a lot of young actors were told, if you can picture yourself doing anything else with your life, go and do it. If you have any other extreme passion, go and do it, because it could be a hard road to follow. But I've been doing it since I was a kid. One of the first shows I did was The Sound of Music, which was a long time ago. I was a very young Mother Abbess.
Breaking the glass ceiling. I started in theater when I was 5. My mother was integral in that whole process decision. I come from a very musical family who's been involved with performance in some kind of way for generations. And so my mother thought it was important for me to start dance classes, and I suppose I was somewhat of an eccentric child, and I think her thoughts were, I better do something with her before she blows the school up from being bored. And that's how it started, and really, I haven't separated from it since. Dance, music, singing, theater. I've been doing it for almost 40 years.
I started when I was 10 because my older sister was in high school theater and they needed extras, and I was bigger than most of the high school guys at that point. So I started over there doing props and sound and acting and doing all that through high school. And then when I was in college, I actually went for just a music degree. I was going to be a high school band director. Kind of changed over the years, but my sister has always, been my inspiration for doing theater, and she had some physical birth defects that kept her from being able to do everything she wanted to do. Like, she had to be homeschooled a lot through high school, and it was really her asking me, like, will you do some theater in college? I want to see you again. That I ended up adding a major, and I graduated with both a music degree and a theater degree. And then I've done nothing with my music degree since, and just been working full-time in theater.
Which is hard to do.
I got a music degree too. I wanted to write music for films when I went to school, and then you had to have an instrument. I played bassoon and I sang, and it was a classical. So I had to pick an instrument, like what I wanted to focus on, and I chose voice, and it was a classical program. So I did opera and fell in love with. Realized that my real love was storytelling, and then I went to graduate school for acting, and the rest is history.
Yeah, Stephen, where'd you go to school, Stephen?
Yeah, where'd you go?
It's a little school.
What's it called?
Harvard. At the American Repertory Theater, where this show began a few years after I graduated. It originated there.
How did I get into this? Well, I was one of those weird 2-year-olds who could speak very clearly, as my grandmother would help me memorize long monologues for church. So that's how it started. And then, I guess I should say that's how it started. My dad's an actor and my stepmom is too. So I was kind of always around it. And then I said, well, I'll go to school. I don't know if I want to do that, so I'll major in business and I'll take one class for acting majors. And I really liked it, so I double majored. So I have a degree in business administration and a degree in theater.
Tell your children, it's smart.
So you may run the theater someday that you're acting in. That sounds okay. Yes.
I just want to give a big congratulations to the ensemble, because that has to be, I think, one of the hardest jobs in the whole thing.
Think about it.
Big congratulations to the ensemble. You probably have one of the hardest jobs going, and you'd probably agree with that. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Yes.
Watching the background, people at tables were in sync, were everything. You guys did a phenomenal. I mean, I was thinking, how do they teach that to them and get that going? So I really want you to know it's a great picture.
The people on the tables in the background were phenomenal. So, yeah. Ensemble.
Kevin,
all right, go ahead.
Kevin teaches all that. He's the one that does that. We've been out on the road for almost 2 years now. We've had a huge turnover. So almost everyone on stage now you put into the show, right?
About half.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. We after the year contract was up is when most of the original cast left. Ryan is still original cast. Melody is our 8th Becky, basically, and 9th Becky since the tour began. And so it's just, after I took over as dance captain in the fall, I was putting in someone new every 4 weeks, at least. Sometimes 2 at the same time. So yeah, Rayon was on medical leave once, had to put someone in for just a couple weeks, and then she left, and yeah. So it's a busy job, but thank you very much. Yeah, thanks.
That was nice that your work is noticed. It's very nice. All right, question? As dance captain, what's your favorite part and, as she put it politely, most challenging part?
I love rehearsal. A lot of people don't. I like working on a show, especially when you're on the road and you're just kind of like, all right, packing your suitcase, going to the next city, or you're not in your own home, you're not in your own city, so you can be bored, you can be stressed, you can be lonely, whatever it is. I like working on a show. So rehearsal I really enjoy. And I like teaching the show to new people who love Waitress. One of the first guys I put into the show, Adam, who was in the ensemble with me, he was such a huge fan of the show before he got the job, and then I got to put him into his dream job, which was kind of fun. One of the most challenging parts is that usually a show has what's called a dance Bible. And that's when the original choreographer and dance captain get together and they make a book of everything in the show, what everyone does, where everything goes. Waitress didn't have one. So I had to teach myself a lot of the show. I worked a little bit with the former dance captain, but he was also busy putting in another guy at the same time. So it was a pretty busy fall, but that's been the hardest thing, is just learning a show that's always also constantly changing. The creative team loves to come out and they tweak the smallest thing here, which makes it different from the Broadway company. Melody just joined us from the Broadway company, and they have a slightly different set with different beats and moments and choreography. So that was the huge learning curve, is just memorizing which fork goes to what waitress on what word. And trying to sync that up with people who are coming from the Broadway company or coming, going to the Broadway company. So that's been the most challenging.
But on the road, a hotel room is bigger than a storage locker.
That's very true.
Okay.
Some of them, yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah. Question way over here.
Even though you follow the script a lot, but from show to show, there's scenes in the play where you have a look, where you have a voice inflection, where you draw the crowd in, or the crowd's got a reaction. From show to show, you try to change that, add to it, to get more reaction going from the audience?
The question is a long one. Basically, you guys do different things in the show. Do you change things from show to show to try and draw in and create a little bit of a different audience reaction? Does that basically summarize it? Okay.
I don't know. For me, I don't. It's all about what's happening on stage more so, to make sure the story is being told so that the audience always gets what the story is always paying attention to what's most important in that moment. So for me, if it's a new person I'm acting next to than I was in the last city because somebody's sick or somebody just left the show, I try to react as real as I can to whatever they're doing in that moment. So that makes it never really the same, because we want to make it moment by moment throughout the show. So I would say it does change in that way, but to change in order to get a different response from the audience or a certain response, not necessarily for me. I try to be like as real as I can. I mean, Norma's a bit heightened, right? But I try to make it as real as I possibly can, so that we can always be playing off of each other in scenes.
Now, we do have 3 versions that are out right now. So we have this tour, we have The Waitress that just opened in London, and then we have The Waitress that's on Broadway. And we have the same creative team that works on all 3 versions. And so sometimes what'll happen is, if they see that something works well in one of the versions, they will come out and they'll plug that into the other versions because they see that it works and the audiences love it. And so sometimes, yes, we do that if the creative team decides, hey, this worked better over here, so let's try it over here and see if it works there as well. Exactly.
It's always Schenectady.
funny. That's funny. That's actually a funny story to me. It might not be funny to any of you, but when I was on Broadway, we only said one thing all the time. I didn't realize, nobody explained to me that at every city we go to, I was going to be saying something different. I just kind of picked it up and was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. Rochester, you know. One time I think of Worcestershire. I was like, oh, I never did that before. I did not know that that was supposed to change everywhere. But yes, you know, that's one of those things that we do. New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I planned on saying when I got on tour. Imagine how that would have worked.
And it's also interesting what lines and play differently culturally in the country. Like that line Jenna says, you could live to be 100 if you give up all the things that make you want to live to be 100, gets like a standing ovation in the South. In New York, there's not a peep because no one eats sugar in New York.
And also in this region, when she says maybe that shit flies in Connecticut, gets a huge laugh often too, because, you know, it's the Connecticut prejudice.
Yeah, and also, speaking on Melody being the different companies on Broadway, the show, and versus our show on tour, our show is a little bit more tame in the sexual department. And if you thought it was wild, you should go to New York and see it on Broadway. But because we play certain cities that, you know, people might be so offended they would leave, or certain, like, people can be very touchy about that. I mean, we're not Book of Mormon. So, but it's, yeah, when they set the tour, they tamed it just a little bit more family friendly.
Just a touch. Okay, I'm afraid these people need a little bit of a break. If any of them go to a Mexican restaurant, they have to recover before the evening show tonight. So, how about a nice round of applause thanking all these folks for coming by. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for talking with our audience, and thank all of you for joining us for Theater Talk. Have yourself a wonderful day.